What up, yo? How's it going? Sorry. Brush my chapstick. Have chapped lips out here, you know what I'm saying? Better. Well, I just grabbed this because I'm about to shake it off. What up, y'all? How you been? How was holidays? How was New Year's? Hope everyone had a fun, safe time. I know I tried to run a Christmas episode and that was not working. Kids move around like little mice, supposed to be in bed. How you been? Oh, it feels like it's been forever. I say that every time, and I say that every time. Um, yeah, no, still struggling trying to make it back in the rotation of being streaming and whatnot. Um, just going through the motions of change. Tell myself I'd stop saying so much. I just a lot going on mentally, emotionally. What else is new? Things are better. I've had more time to really consider some things about the changes in my life and just, being okay with everything. Getting to a point where I'm not just saying I'm okay, like I'm moving like I'm okay. I don't think about the same things. I don't feel the same emotions, and even the changes with the changes that have changed since the changes, I am becoming okay much faster with everything. Just accepting what I can't control. Um, yeah, I'm really just kind of back on that. You know, understanding if I can't control it, there's no point in allowing it to affect me and my emotions. We slip sometimes, and I feel like with me, I have a lot of anger issues. I get irritated quick, and I let things kind of weigh on me. Learn to let things go. Learning to continue to let things go instead of holding on to things, expecting. That's the thing. Expectations. Expectations will really hit you if you don't know how to let things go. And that is the reason why, one of the reasons why I chose the topic for today. It's establishing your happiness. I'll get into that here in just a moment. But yeah, I want to make sure everybody was good. Everyone was safe for the holidays, had a good time. Hope the family events that you had weren't bad. You know, nothing too crazy happened. But yeah, feel free to. Oh, no one's here, so yeah. Hope everything went well. So here in Wichita, Kansas, it's been snowing. Snowed twice this week. I've shoveled snow twice this week. I enjoy it. One, it's therapeutic for me. Lets me get things off my mind. Lets me think. It's also a good workout, good upper body workout. And if you use your legs right, good for lower body too. Other than that, damn, like school closed 2 to 3 times, which was all right. I work also closed, but because I now have a work from home kit, guess who had to work from home? That's because I chose to do OT. So thank goodness I did that OT because things happened and I lost some money. get into that. Other than that, yeah, just been normal me, going through the motions as always. You know, taking it one day at a time, slow motion, easy breeze. Speaking of the weather, for those in attendance and in the Midwest area, you may be understanding. So I do want to point out, it's funny because here in Wichita, snow days, they're very rare. Um, Here in the Midwest, especially in Wichita, where every bit of weather happens within the week. Like, it doesn't make any sense what the weather's going to be like in the next 2 versus what we have this week. Like, it's crazy. So not only did we hit the low of 0 degrees, you know, no, we had snow days, and the roads were so bad that people were wrecking. They thought they could just rush and speed, and they couldn't. So people were on the highway facing the opposite direction of traffic on the same side. Almost called them stupid, but stupid. I didn't expect it to be that bad this year. You never really do because it's been so long since we've had like a big snow day like we've had multiple times this year. Well, this season, and it was kind of crazy because I don't know. For this year, I tend to loathe having to drive through the snow more and more as an adult. Like as a kid and a teenager, I'm like, "Oh, it's snow. I can go somewhere and just like fishtail and spin out and all that crazy stuff and open parking lots. That was always fun. But as an adult, when you've got places to go and you've also got kids in the car, a little aggravating. It's definitely stressful because start paying attention to how people drive and you're just like freaking idiot. Why are you doing that? People with sedans speeding. Like normal speed for snow and ice, rain, sleet, 30 on the highway. People are going 50. Like just have the greatest tires in the world. I digress. Um, yeah, weather's been crazy. It wasn't as cold as I thought it would be. It was just, icy roads. Icy roads. Even me, I was kind of slipping in car that I'm driving right now, so it wasn't the greatest experience. And the car I'm driving also doesn't have a rear windshield wiper, so that after having one and then going to a car that doesn't have one, you're just like, ugh. Technology is great sometimes, but let's get into it. So yeah, Midwest. Oh yeah, Kansas City's got hit with. I've been seeing stuff on the news about Kansas City. They're not doing so great, and even the smaller towns around Kansas are also pretty bad. So it got crazy up here in Kansas. Moving on. It's gonna get warmer, which means the snow is gonna be melting with the week. Got some plans, so hopefully that all happens. So this coming Saturday, tomorrow, the 11th, we're looking at high of 36, low 27. It's gonna be cloudy up until Wednesday, so I'll just start with that. Sunday the 12th is gonna be high of 37, low 13. Pretty cold morning and evening. Monday the 13th will be high of 32, low of 19. Tuesday the 14th, high of 34, low of 15. Wednesday the 15th, high of 39, low of 26. So now we're starting to get warmer. 16th, which is a Thursday, high of 48, low of 25. Full sunny day for the rest of most of the month. We're looking at partly cloudy, so I'll say that now. Friday the 17th, high of 44, low of 32. Then we get back to the colder temperatures, below freezing. Yeah. Sunday the 19th, high of 23, low of 7. Coldest part of the next 2 weeks. Monday the 20th, high of 20, low of 6. Definitely going to make sure the boys are bundled up. Tuesday the 21st, high of 22, low of 10, as well as Wednesday, which is a high of 27 on the 22nd. Thursday the 23rd is a high of 28, low of 15. And Friday the 24th, high of 35, low of 17. I'll be revisiting BAFSAF within the next week or two. I probably just keep on track with where I'm at now, do it in 2 weeks. But as you know, as always, the weather is subject to change because it's the Midwest and that's what it always does. It changes. So that's what I meant. Like, it was. We were expecting snow Thursday and today. It didn't snow at all today. It was actually warmer than most this week, and it was melting. That's a plus. Uh, Enough about the weather. It snowed. It's a pain in the ass as an adult. Thought about hitting some parking lots, but I was like, nah, I don't have time for that. What is it called? Doing donuts. Yeah, doing donuts. But anyway, so yeah, today's topic is establish your happiness. The reason why I had considered doing this topic is, one, I didn't want to do a cliche New Year's Eve episode or New Year's episode. No New Year's resolution, none of that. We've all seen them. Some of us got them. I didn't need one. I didn't need one. I don't know. I don't think they're necessary after a certain point, because if you know you have accomplishments, goals, just continue to push forward. I see if you've had like a very rough year and this is your your moment where you're just turning everything around, where you just really are going to apply yourself, and it starts today, when you're really just cutting it off and you're making changes after midnight of the 31st going into the first of the year, where you're so serious about it, you've made your standpoint, where you're setting goals for the year. I can completely understand, because that's a genuine New Year's resolution, is to be able to set goals that you're looking to accomplish that turn your life around. Now, New Year's resolutions where people are like, oh, I'm gonna stop smoking, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Why lie to yourself? I'm rooting for you, but why lie to yourself? Because you're not going to do it in the moment. You're selecting a time to do it after the first. That's your first mistake. I never had to set a willingly had to set a New Year's resolution. It was always like in school or something. What do you plan on changing for the next year? Nothing. Well, you've got to choose something. Fine. I'd never do it. I'd forget about it. But anyway, yeah, I didn't want to be cliche. So I decided to make this episode about establishing happiness. One, I have been, as I've stated before, going through some things, and I've come to the terms of wanting to just finally take control of being happy. Not for once, but just being able to apply myself and surrounding myself with things that allow me to be positive and happy. So, fresh start, right? Also, I've been seeing a lot of posts since the beginning of the year about people being different this year. Coming into 2025, they're not being their genuine self because they've been deceived and hurt, and it just wasn't the greatest experience in the past year and also in their life. So big changes. Posts, they can come off as funny, And some of, as frequent as I've seen them, I feel like people are actually serious about it, like if you want to be able to change, you want to stop allowing people to take advantage of you and hurt you and just, pouring yourself into people who don't show appreciation, who don't acknowledge the fact that you've done things unless they find a benefit, and then, they flip it on you because it didn't go their way, blah, 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 what have you. You most likely understand what posts I'm talking about. Ones that are like, oh, this year I'm done giving to people. I'm all about me. I'm all about self. F everybody. Those posts. I've seen them. I mean, I see them throughout the year, and I'm just like, I mean, I get it. Being able to feel that way is natural. Wanting to change in that aspect is natural. Having to put it out there on social media for everyone to see, and mind you, I've done this before. So looking back on it, I'm like, didn't need to say that. Just do it. And I get it. Like with social media, it took me some time to really understand why people use it, and we use it as a personal diary, so to speak. We use it as a means of getting networking, getting exposure, multiple reasons why people use social media. So not necessarily knocking anyone for making posts like this, but when there's those people who constantly post with those memes of indirect digs at people or a group of people, um, self aspiration, self inspiration, just those kind of posts. I've seen them more frequently in the past couple weeks than I have in about half the year last year. So I just wanted to say my piece, I guess. I definitely confide in those posts. Again, I was the one. I've played that kind of role before in social media where I let my emotions out that way, venting in that way. But instead of sitting on social media finding posts to do that so I can feel relative or just let people know that I am looking to change, I'm looking to grow, I just start applying it. And people will notice, people will see. I no longer feel the need to post about it so people understand I'm making the change. I'm just going to start changing and people see it. And what happens is that people tend to feel a certain way about the change. And not just me, but this is, throughout life with everyone who's experienced this kind of thing, positive or negative. You lose people because they're like, oh, you changed, you're different now. And then you have people who are like, so happy, you seem healthier, you seem like you've changed and you're doing better for yourself. You're moving differently. Getting that praise always feels good. Yeah, I just stopped feeling the need to post it. I'll see it. I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. I was there before. I get it. I move on. But the mass amount that I've seen lately, I'm just like, wow, everyone's like it's wants to kind of be on the same page with not really being themselves anymore, because being yourself got you in situations that you didn't want to be in. And as we're getting older from where we were as teenagers, young adults, adults with responsibilities, priorities, and now being like someone like me being over 30, like I just don't have the energy, patience for people who want to waste my time and not acknowledge my efforts. For a general statement, nothing in particular that I'm stating here, because this is to a demographic where people actually understand where I'm coming from, where you've given yourself, whether it's a little or a lot, to people, and they just make you feel like you regret it. I don't want people to feel that way. And then even people who've done so and they continue to do so, and they put themselves in a situation where they're just like unhappy. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel of what they're going through. Almost puts them in a state of depression, or you may be depressed. Yeah, I definitely just kind of want to see a different way. Yeah. Uh, So yeah, when it comes to happiness, when you think about happiness, I don't know. I think for me and my generation, it's just kind of like we have a lot of us, some of us, I'll say some, have given up on the idea because we're so used to things happening in succession. We just take what we get and we keep pushing, you know? So then we focus on what we deem as happiness, such as success, having a stable career, having money, being able to finance things, having a car, having a home, having a healthy relationship, whatever it is that you deem as happiness and success, that's what we aim for. So we tend to have this mindset after a certain age where you just want to cut things off, cut people off, because now you're trying to be focused. After 30, you're like, okay, it's grind time. It's time to stay focused. So there is a sense of necessity for understanding the struggle of obtaining happiness and how to retain it, how to keep it. I think for me, it was a struggle, and I say struggle because I used to I used to do way more out of the kindness of my heart because I know people needed it, and it would put me in situations where I was low on funds when I had funds to use or play with. I was used, deceived, heartbroken, a lot of negative experiences to the point to where I lost faith in humanity. I wanted to be alone, and I didn't like that feeling because not only did I want to be alone, I started to really have this disdain for people, and it had this negative effect on me where I just didn't trust a lot of what people thought or what people said. If it wasn't from me, if it wasn't of like-mindedness, or if I didn't understand it to the point to where it irritated me, I didn't like it and I didn't trust it. Not to mention when we are looking through social media where we have full access of what's going on around the world, and I'm seeing what's going on around the world and how people perceive what's happening around the world. It's very upsetting because not only is it around the world, it's also what's happening in our own backyard, in our own country. And I used to be a very angry person, very angry, but there was a lot of time for me to understand the good and bad about humanity and a lot of emotions. Again, one in particular, well, that was my primary was anger, and just disappointment. But that was so exhausting, so consuming, and very unhealthy. I wanted to be better and I wanted to be different. So I started to really focus on what would change that. And then I started to have my faith in humanity restored. And for the most part, it is because I have this ability to kind of see both sides of things and understand, and just instead of having judgment, I just know that there is a way of being able to handle most situations, and just to have faith in it, in that resolve. There was one little bit. So before I get into that, because I'm rushing, again, there was a point where when I was in this mental and emotional state, I just felt alone, and I still kind of do, but it's not like physically alone. It just felt like I was the only one in my community, I guess the best way to say it, that felt and thought the way that I did, which wasn't entirely true. I've come to realize that because it just felt good knowing that I could sit in that aloneness, knowing that it was almost like putting myself on a pedestal, but not the highest one in the group, just away from everybody, just separated. because it just kind of felt, it did feel lonely. It felt like I was the only one that would think the way I think, because when I would speak and when letting my thoughts be verbal, I would just get indifferent reactions. And after getting so many of those indifferent reactions, I just wanted to, I don't know, kind of remain silent and remain to myself, because it just became, I was explaining myself too much. And I'm explaining myself, and people were like, yeah, yeah, no, I get it. And then they turn around and just run their mouth about me, or like, they'd have some, oh, he's weird, you know? After a while, it gets kind of bold, like kind of old. But for the most part, I'm weird, yeah. And I just went with it, like, because I knew how I felt. I knew what I was thinking, and I did the best I could to make sure I knew the truth about things. I don't know, it was like very exhausting time, but I did feel alone, and there were times where I was alone. Like, there were times I wanted to be alone, and that's because I was unhappy. I just had so many things. I had so many unresolved feelings. I had so many unresolved issues, and just things just kept piling on, and I was just very, very unhappy. But it's different now. I'm rolling with the punches. Things happen, and they'll upset me for a little bit, not as long as they used to. But now I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. I can't control it. Why do I stay upset? I've been doing good, and I hope everyone else has been doing well. If you're not feel like you're doing well, keep doing it. It takes practice. Oh my gosh, it takes practice. It just, like, you don't really practice unless you're in the moment. And then when you're in the moment, you really got to remind yourself, hey, we're working on this. Let's just go ahead and check it. You got to check yourself sometimes. And it only happens in the moment. You can try to rehearse it all you want to, but as soon as that moment happens and you feel yourself slipping, going back on old habits, you really got to stop yourself, because after it's all said and done, you're going to feel guilty, and you're just like, oh, tell myself I wouldn't do it. And I'm still doing that too. There's a couple things that happened this week. I'm just like, okay, next time. So when it comes to focusing on establishing my happiness, or establishing happiness for you as well, just in general, how do I segue into this? I had a perfect way of like setting this up, but it just doesn't right now. Now I'll just say it anyway. So I had thought of something earlier when I was out shoveling the snow. It's that I allowed my negative experience of being alone overshadow the possibilities in positive aloneness, the silence. Um, that just kind of came to me randomly, and it's a little different now than what I thought about it earlier, but it just kind of felt right to think and jot down. The point of that is that when I would think about happiness, I couldn't really consider a whole lot, because it had been, it came in strides, but it was more negative than it was positive. So, like I said, things would pile on, or they would continue, and because things are out of my control, I would just let it upset me. So I'm allowing things that have hurt me before, experiences that I've gone through, kind of make my awareness flare up, and I'm just using that awareness in a negative light instead of believing things can be different. I'm seeing signs, and I just go automatically, I'm like, oh no, I know where this is going, and it would affect the way that I perceive things and handle things, and I just be in a loop of behavior. There are ways that we block being happy, and to be completely honest, a lot of things that we allow to be our unhappiness stems from the fact that we allow it. It may be a hard truth, hard pill to swallow, but we allow a lot to happen in our lives to make us unhappy. And we've got to be able to take accountability for that in order to understand how to start being happy. You can't continue to point the finger and blame people or things for what's happened to you, or why you're unhappy, or why you've changed and you're a whole different person. Though may things have been out of your control, out of you being able to, if things happen to you directly, the part where it comes into play where you allow it to happen is whether or not you stayed, if you made the right call, or you just continue to let someone or something be present in your life. Like, for instance, for me, I would be, let's just say, one of my relationships in the past, I kept with it hoping, again, like I said, expectations really get you in trouble. I was hoping things would just one day turn around and would just be good. Because there would be times where things were, and this isn't not my most recent relationship, so don't. There were times where things would be good, and I would really enjoy that. And then we'd hit those points where things that just went south. I'm like, here we go. How long is it going to be this time? And it sucks to have to be in that mindset, in that situation, whether it's friendships or relationships, marriage, family. Knowing you gotta have to kind of walk on eggshells, and then when things happen, you can either continue to walk on eggshells or you can pop off. And knowing that you'll pop off, things happen, you just hate being in that predicament. Like, you don't even feel like you live in your own home or in the location that you're living at. It just doesn't even feel like, it kind of feels like you're just having an out of body experience, and you're just watching the negativity unfold until it's time for you to assume some kind of positioning on it, and then you get out of character. That's kind of what I mean by, one of the easiest examples to provide is that when we allow things to be our unhappiness, not removing yourself from a situation, not making a situation better, not being benefit, not changing your perspective, just a lot of things that have to do with you being able to make the change. And there's a lot of situations. So when I was going through the motions of unhappiness, I wasn't making change I should have been making. And then of course, just recently, I realized that I had spent my life with someone and, a family. So I've always had someone or somebody or some people always around me and in my vicinity. And after the changes were established, I felt alone, felt lonely. And I didn't want to feel that. So I was trying to make things happen fast, even though I was trying to force myself to believe that I was pacing things. What I wanted was to pace things. What I was doing was rushing things because I wanted to be happy like other people were. I wanted to not be alone like other people were. I wanted what I had before I had made my decision that would help me and benefit me in the long run. It took me a while to realize it, and when I did, I was just kind of had to sit with it. I had to understand that I was the product of my own unhappiness because I was sitting in loathe, watching people be happy and wondering why, and just, oh, it's not fair. I was pointing fingers, and I was just wasn't necessarily watching people be happy, but I could see that there was happiness being created, and I was like, I want some. My time. I want some. And I just couldn't get over the fact that I had wanted it, and I said that it's my time. Like, well, what's stopping me from being happy? Like, why am I sitting here being unhappy when I could just be happy? And it hit me. I'm wasting too much time and energy focused on someone else being happy, whether it was fair or not. I made the decisions I made, and I can have what I want. I just got to put in the effort to get it. I got to go do it. And as soon as I had realized that, I was just, ooh, yeah, I was like, damn, I have. All right, I know what I need to do. I understand it now, you know? So I started to change gears. I started to change my perception on what I find, what I define as happiness and what would make me happy. And I feel that I'm becoming myself, who I was before I changed my life up until where it's at now. And it's not one of those, oh, I'm back on my bull kind of things. I'm back to my genuine me, where I don't feel I have to force effort, where I feel I don't have to be a certain way, where I feel like I don't have to think a certain way. Like, I can be genuinely me, where I can just be chill, I can be silent, I can, have my moods and just be like, I can assert them and establish them, but hey, I'm in the mood right now. Can't, like, I don't have to fake the funk to impress people or provide for people. I can just be genuinely me. And also, there's this sense of aloneness where it's a good thing, because you get that sense of peace, the silence, in the peace and silence, in the sense that you get that time to yourself to really just kind of elaborate on where you're at in life. Just really just, it's a good thing to be able to just kind of chill with yourself and understand mentally where you at, how are you doing, check in. And I have that. Soon enough I will have more of it, but I had to understand I was trying to rush into things to fill the void. I don't need the void filled by anyone but myself. And once you understand that you can start filling the void with yourself, then you realize how much value you hold as an individual. And if you're a positive product to your community, to your people, your value is that much more higher. And people start to understand just how much more to respect you. Kaden, hey, how's it going? Long time no see. How you been? So yeah, I was disregarding that sense of peace and silence, because it's loneliness. But you gotta understand, there's power in being alone. There's power in being able to just kind of be ducked off from society for a little bit, going home to a home where you got your bills paid, you've got food. You may or may not have food, may or may not have all the bills paid, but knowing that you're doing it on your own, you can be alone. There is a positive sense in that. You don't always have to be with people. Being with people can be exhausting, and you may not, or like always be getting stuff done. I don't know. There's just a bunch of benefits to it. I won't really get into it. I mean, if you need more, just ask anyone who has personal experience of being alone for a while. Find someone who will speak positively on it, because there's lot of positives with that. Aiden says, "How are you?" I'm good. I'm good. Uh, can't complain. Is it snowing where you're at? Cause we got snow. The whole state got snow. And are you gaming tonight? Almost midnight. So yeah. Moving forward with, I was taking. So like, I think my initial perspective was that I know what I'm capable of when I'm alone. I know what can happen up here and in here when I'm alone, and I didn't want to experience that again. So I was in a rush to try to not have that hot dog neck, to not have that happen. What I was dismissing was my ability to see the positive in it. As I just mentioned, that's where my mindset was. I didn't realize that I could go back to the positive side of being alone. And once I realized that, I was just like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Because I'm not alone. I just wanted some companionship that I was used to, that honestly, up until the tail end, I really wasn't even getting. So I think because I was yearning for that in a situation, and then to come out of it still yearning for it, only to see that it wasn't me having it initially, when else was getting it. I think that's when it really hit. Mind you, it's also the winter time, and as we've discussed earlier on in this whole reason why I'm doing this, wintertime does not play well with me in my life. We've already had a couple losses. Illness has been heavy. So yeah, it was kind of feeling like it was back to the BS again, but things were a little different this year. And yeah, I can't wait to see what I'm capable of and what I'll get into now that I'm a different person. I'm a better person, and I've established myself a little better. So yeah, I'm starting the process of being able to find what would make me happy, and we'll get into that together. What I've been through, what I can see myself benefiting from, and just really going over the temporary and long-term senses of happiness. Caden says, "What you been up to?" I have been I've been sick. I was sick Christmas week up until New Year's. My boys, they were all at one point sick. Still tending to like coughs and stuff, so still a little sick. Been working. Been driving through this damn snow. Still working and saving up to get my own place. Right now, I'm working on getting a car. Hopefully, with everything on the right path, I'll have it by the end of this month. I have my brother's car right now, so I have my own again, and then I can start saving to have my own place. Which, can't wait. I can't wait. But other than that, just been vibing. Been trying to be happy. trying to live life the way I want to. So, how about you? I tuned out there for a second. How you been? See, that. You get one good cough in there every now and then. What you been up to? How's your winter been? How were your holidays? How's your twin brother? uh, all right, so what I wanted to begin with was what's blocking your happiness? If you find yourself asking the same questions or feeling the same way where I was not too long ago, why can't I be happy? Why am I not happy? What's keeping me from being happy? What do I need to do to be happy? Well, let's talk about what may be blocking you from being happy. One, as I'd already mentioned, allowing things to remain in your life. Instead of making changes, allowing things to remain in your life to where you could start seeing happiness. You could start seeing change. That's a good start. And trust me, with everything I'm saying, I've had to face reality on my own as well. So, not just sitting here spitting out jargon that I don't believe in. I'm literally going through or have gone through what I'm speaking on. And I wanted to share, as I always do. Caden says, I've been looking for more stuff to do out of town with family, and Wi-Fi here is not good. Oh, that's never good. Every time I hear people on vacation, the Wi-Fi never good. Like home Wi-Fi is always good at home. Where are you at out of town? Are you still in Texas? All right, so what's blocking your happiness? Let's see. First one I put was guilt. The wrongdoings of others or onto yourself. So, you may be guilty of some things, and that's really weighing on you. So that weight of guilt, all right here, all back here, even probably up here, giving you headaches and migraines, and here. So with all that weighing on you, that tension, stress is causing stuff to just kind of cause a little turmoil, and then that turmoil, that tarnish that's happening gets into the flow of your energy, and it starts make you feel depressed or upset, and they see the world the way I was seeing it. You just kind of don't really care for it. You gotta let that guilt go. You gotta be able to forgive yourself for what you've done to people, or what you've done in the moment, or if you've made a mistake. This is the 10th time that it's been buffering. Oh, you're dealing with buffering? Are you using like hotel Wi-Fi, or is this like someone else's home? Yeah, you have to forgive yourself. And starting to forgive yourself is another good way of being able to start to find your happiness, because whatever happened, big or small, it was a mistake. If you don't forgive yourself, you're going to hold on to that because you're expecting the person or the event to find its way to forgive you. Don't chase it. It'll happen naturally on its own. If it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. But you got to learn to forgive yourself. Because what that does, that allows you to understand that you realize that you've made a mistake, and then you're moving towards a point where you got to be okay with knowing how to come out of that mistake. You don't learn a lesson by continuing to think about the mistake. You're only going to be able to learn a lesson when you're able to just say, hey, yes, I'm aware that I've done wrong. What can I do? Never do wrong again. Start to be able to put yourself in that learning state, and then start to really understand where you messed up and how you can be better. Forgive yourself. Tell yourself that you will do your best to never let that happen again. Because let's be honest, mistakes will happen more than once. Depending on what it was, it'll happen more than once. So be real with yourself and just say, I will work on making sure I do my best to never have that happen again. And just, say, hey, we weren't we were, in a weird time, or we kind of, I don't know what was going on at the time, but let's not be that person again. Establish that sense, and that's a really good start. And it says my family home. Oh, you need to tell them to call their. Wait, how long are you gonna be there for? You can tell them their internet package for as long as you're there. Then they can change it once you leave. Let's see. Emotions of going to go. It's getting worse. Bye. Okay. It was good seeing you again. Hopefully next time we see each other, you're back to stable connection. You have a good night and be safe, man. All right. So emotions of past actions or experiences. So lingering feelings that cuff you to negativity that transpired from those events. So, traumatic experiences or small experiences that you just don't know how to or haven't allowed yourself to let go of. Guilty as charged. There are some things there are some people and things where if I see them or think about them, I'm immediately hot. Like I just, I get angry. Very, very unhealthy, because that affects here, stress here, and that really affects up here. Like it really will mess with your brain. It starts to deteriorate. Of course, with that deterioration here and affecting here, that affects your entire body, especially if you're looking to be one of those people who is focusing on weight loss or, just changing the way you look. Naturally, that stress piles on everywhere else in your body. So a lot of times here, builds up fat. I have a habit of building up fat for stress and stress eating. I will eat the hell out of some snacks. I am a fat boy at heart. I don't want to be a fat boy in physicality. With that, forgiveness and acceptance is key factors to being able to move on from holding on to that trauma. And I understand it is easier said than done, not depending. With what has ever happened to you or someone else, and you're thinking in this moment, easier said than done, or this happened to me, so how do you expect me to forgive? How do you expect me to move on from it? There are methods. You have to believe in yourself, and you got to believe that everything is forgivable, especially if you're looking to grow from it and move on. You don't have to hurt for the rest of your life. You don't have to hurt others for the rest of your life because you were hurt or you were deceived or whatever happened to you. You don't have to keep holding on to that. You really don't. Trust me, I know. There's nothing keeping you from holding on to it other than yourself. And this is what I was talking about earlier, that accountability of allowing things to make you unhappy. If you allow yourself to remain unhappy because of something that happened to you that may or may not have been in your control, especially if it was outside of your control, you really do have to establish yourself with forgiving and moving on. You don't have to forget about it, just move on. And hearing those words never sits well with a whole lot of people. Just to be honest, you have to know to move on. It's the best thing to do. And whatever that looks like to you, do it. You have to move on. It's not going to happen overnight. And that's okay. As long as you know you're putting an effort to move on, you'll get there. But you got to put in the effort. You got to start with forgiveness and accepting it is for what it is. What happened, happened. There's no going in the past, not even thinking about it, not even having the conversation about not being able to go in the past. It's just a waste of time. You have to be able to forgive, accept, and move on. A lot of us in the entire world understand there is one piece of our past that we're just like, yeah, no. A minimum of one piece in our past where we're just, yeah, no. You can't expect me or convince me to move on from what happened. Here's what's happening when you have that mindset. One, you're pointing the finger at others and blaming. Again, it's probably not you to blame. What you are to blame for is allowing yourself to be in that mental prison of not letting go. It's a prison. Two, where was I going with this? I forgot. Oh, okay. So, two, you're a victim. You're playing victim. You may have been a victim, but you don't have to play the victim by holding on to that so you can run and tell a story and have people hear you out for what happened, and you're making the bad guy out to be a super villain. You don't have to be the victim. You were a victim with that event. You don't have to be the victim for life. You don't. You owe it to yourself to move on from it, knowing it was a part of your story and that you've been able to grow from it and share your experience with someone who's also experienced it, and they may have questions or concerns on how to grow from it. If you're able to do it, you give hope to someone else to do it as well. But you can't be that person who holds on to it and you become the victim. And you just hold on to that mindset. Well, it's dust. So yeah, moving into this next topic here, which is kind of similar. People and environment. Anyone who's had or continues to have an effect on you that you find yourself struggling to escape from. Environment would be like a job, home, school, or temporary situation. So just to kind of make it simple, if you're with an abusive partner and you may or may not have the help, you always have help. I say always in of like a most case scenario kind of sense. I know there are some cases where people don't have the help. In most cases, you have the help. What you're doing is you're setting an expectation and you're hoping and wishing that things will someday change. Listen, I've been in an abusive relationship. I've never been the abuser. I've talked to people who have been in an abusive relationship. I've done my best to try to help people out of abusive relationship. The one thing that really keeps you in the loop of that abuse is letting the abuser stick around, letting the abuser back in. There's a certain point where you just allow this person to just make you believe things are going to change. They won't. And if they do, they don't need you to be there to change them. They don't need you there for those changes to happen. It's hard. There's a sense of moving on that will be difficult. But you don't have to be there for this person or this place in order for that change to happen. Because if you're the one that's getting hurt, being deceived, no one is benefiting from the situation. You've got to be able to put yourself in a position to move forward for the better. Especially if you have like a family and kids involved. Yeah, you've got to push on forward. You got to get away from that toxicity. That's and you may not, I don't know, like you may not think that there's anything better outside of what you're dealing with at the time. There's always better. I mean, if you can see that other people are living in a better life than you, there's better. You just gotta want it. You gotta believe that you can go get it. You can believe that you can have. You can believe that you can escape. There, there are a lot of ways that people can escape what they're going through if it's harmful. If you're not in captivity, if you're not napped, nothing is really keeping you there other than the hope and the dream that things will just get better. You are putting yourself in a prison, shutting the gate, and throwing the keys. There's always a way. For most people, for most cases, there's always a way. Trust me, I've been there. I've been through the physical, I've been through the emotional, I've been through the mental. There's always a way, and there's always better. Gotta believe it. Current life status, whether it be financial burdens, separation, loss, tragedy, health, big life changes. Don't really have to go into details with those, but we'll talk about it. Financial burdens is kind of a big one that could be blocking your happiness. Now, with me working the jobs that I've worked, I've come to understand that as humans, we do a lot of dumb stuff financially. To be completely honest, we do a lot of dumb stuff financially because we think things are just going to go the way we want them to. Because money is a reoccurring thing if you have a job, or if you have a way of income, a steady income, or just an inconsistent income, money's going to come. Financial burdens happen when we make the dumbest mistakes, thinking we're going to find some kind of benefit. Whether it be for yourself, for someone else, for a business, for material, for purpose, like whatever it is, we've all been in this position where we've made a dumb financial decision or a string of them. And now you're stuck. There's a way out, but there's also a way not to get in. And that's knowing where your money's going, knowing what you're doing with your money, knowing that you've got responsibilities, and not to make a financial decision based on emotion. Trust me, I didn't went and spent out a pretty penny on clothes, and I'm like, okay, how can I manage this last $50 until my next paycheck? I just got paid 2 days ago, and my check's almost gone. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, you're when you're young, you get in that mental state of being able to calculate things out. Like, all right, so if I buy this, I can eat this, and I should be okay with it for eating it a week and a half. And then when we get paid, and we can do things differently. You do that once, and then you do that a few times, and it just becomes a habit. I was infamous for, all right, so. Oh, and then having negative bank accounts, overdraft fees. I was hit with a few of those. Not the greatest feeling, especially back when they were anal about overdraft fees and such. Hated it. So yeah, financial burden, separation, loss, tragedy, health. Separation, loss, tragedy, and health kind of all go hand in hand, but tragedy, something that maybe happened locally, globally, personally. Loss is loss. Separation. Big life changes. Current life status, big life change. Maybe like career move, a career loss. That's the only thing I can think of for that. Let's see. Here's a big one that'll really block your blessings is not getting what you want. Living the prince or princess lifestyle. This one is a big one because I've had to deal with quite the number of people who have this mindset. Um, who will make you or others suffer because they don't have what they want in the moment of or when they're expecting it to come. I hated it, and I hate it. This is one of those things where, like, I get it, but I don't. Because it's not even that someone should have taught you. It was probably taught to you if you're this kind of person, and you're just like, me, 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 me. Oh, do I hate it? I hate it so much. It just irks me that people can act like this and get away with it. So yeah, not getting what you want, having a strong privilege that you feel is unsatisfied, whether it be money, material status, small or big requests. Yeah, so the thing that would make you, or like will block your happiness with that, is if you're not getting what you want, you're not getting your way, and it's your reaction, you know, it's your reaction. You can have one of those reactions where you throw a fit or a tantrum, whether it be physical, verbal, um, or oh yeah, no, that's yeah. The reaction and the behavior from the reaction is definitely one of the ones that'll block. And then expectation, hoping and wishing. But yeah, mainly just how one would react and the behaviors that they possess. That yeah. Moving on. Another one that was kind of like I would say big, but also one that stood out is forcing a life decision, attempting to make things happen before they're meant to happen. Goes with I knew I typed that part out, like the last part out that I almost read, and I knew in the moment when I typed it out that I would either say it all the way or be like, I told myself not to say it, and I just thought to myself not to say it. Um, I've done this. I think we've all done this, where you try to force something to happen. You know that event was probably meant to happen at another time or not at all. And so when you force it to happen, it's either a good thing temporarily or it's a bad thing long term. I know for me, it was probably like rejection or, choosing someone that I was like really into, come to find out we are not compatible. We would have all been there. One second, I gotta get up and stretch. Take a moment. Be right back. Alright. Starting to get into a better habit of catching when I'm falling asleep. Before I fall asleep, I get up and stretch. Okay. Alright. So, a few things to think about, consider when it comes to happiness. Influence plays a part. Temporary happiness can come from influences that allows ourselves to believe certain people or things are what we want frequent in our lives, or how we operate in order to be or find happiness. To be happy or find happiness. For long term, it's less of a phase and more of a personality trait we've allowed to be present. So you know how when it comes to influence, or like someone that you see that's been influenced and they've made some kind of change in their life, and it kind of raises an eyebrow because you're just like, okay, a little difference in you. See how long this goes. So for parents who have, children above the age of like 9, and they've starting to hang out with a different set of people or kids or a crowd, and you notice that there's a change in your child and how they behave, and you're just like, this isn't who I remember. What's going on? We've all gone through phases in our life during school. I've gone through plenty of my own. What the mindset of being influenced and then seeing happiness in that is that it can be pretty temporary. Like phases. Lingo, music, style. Like, for instance, how many of you were a part of the big t-shirt, big clothes style in the hip-hop era with the E4L, Soldier Boy, Ying Yang Twins, Lil Jon, the East Side Boys, that era of like the early 2000s. Also the the spinners on your car, the spinner necklaces, the spinner bracelets, all that, temporary happiness because it was all material, but it was also you're around the people that you hang out with, influences, and you dress like them and you hang out with them and they're your crew and you feel like you're happy with it. It's temporary happiness because that phase is going to die out, and if it dies out and you're still keeping it going, then you hit that point where you're being made fun of for continuing that phase, for continuing that style, the lingo, and just like, oh, you're still doing that? And it makes you feel like, oh, not be wearing this and doing this and saying these things. So you get upset, you get pressured, you get a bit anxious, and you start to change. So what was the next fad from that fad? The the G unit. Okay, so it was like no. I know I vaguely remember the G unit tank tops, the ones that are the muscle shirts. I had like 2. My skinny ass was not fitting in it as a muscle shirt. So the ones that had like the so like if you have a beater, the dip in the cuff like happens right here. With the G unit muscle shirts, they were hugging your bicep and tricep, so it made you look swole. So it was thin strap right here, but like it would cuff right up under your armpit, so it was a little higher than normal. That's the next phase I remember as far as style goes. Didn't last long. But it's temporary because you have to keep going with it. You have to keep changing. And you try to find happiness in knowing that you fit in. It's a positive and a negative because one, with it being temporary, it's always changing. Eventually you're gonna get to a point where you're just like, you know what? I like where I'm at. I gotta stop this. The negative part about it is that you're spending money, maybe, if it's you, spending money that you don't need to be spending it on. You're trying to find validation in the people that you're hanging out with. Chances are you're not getting the truest form of validation. There could be some hate sprinkled into it. There could be some uplift, and then there's also validation that you don't require, that you want. You probably don't need it, because if someone's validating you on the things that we used to wear when we were growing up, they lied to you. You shouldn't have been validated for it. And I done worn some questionable things, but not as questionable as the 80s. If you had assless chaps, you shouldn't have been validated. Someone should have kept your ass at home. But moving on. Influence plays a big part into happiness, whether it's apparent or it's missing, because that validation can be a problem for sure. With environmental or situational, as I'd stated before, environmental can be effective as well as event or situational. In a temporary standpoint, environmental can be work-related, home, shelter, school, career, where you're expecting to only be present for a short period. Probably affected by homesickness, missing people, or not liking the transition. With long-term in its standpoint, having to move, escaping a toxic situation, or losing someone, gaining someone, or something. That was lazy writing there. And also social changes. So, and I had also had this in mind with it going hand in hand with influence. One thing in particular when it comes to environmental and situational that I can understand would either hinder or help your happiness is work from home, and not like this work from home. Traveling, like military, contractor, truck drivers, things like that. Anything where it requires you to travel, be away from home. You may be indifferent about your happiness because one, you're getting paid well in some industries. Some won't go into that don't really pay well. Military. Excuse me, I cough there. Indifference and happiness. So yeah, leaving because you're getting paid, but also like you're gone. The change in comfort zone of location. I myself, I went to a concert to Kansas City that was 3 hours away. I was homesick because I was gone for like 4 or 5 days. I didn't like it. I get homesick. I'm getting better at it though, because it's like traveling. I didn't do it growing up, so I don't know. There's always a problem. People be like, "Don't you want to travel?" No. Go anywhere. I want to see it. Pull it up on Google. What am I doing? It's for the experience. Google it. But I've kind of gotten out of that mindset. So in my position, when it comes to happiness with environmental or situational, being able to travel, I can see myself considering locations that I feel would really, make me feel happy. Make me feel happy, like I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Vietnam. One of the, just kind of get the feel of like what it is of my heritage. Japan is just, everyone's location. So Japan it is. I think there was something around the U.S. that I wanted to visit, but I mean, of course, there's some ghost haunted locations I'd like to go to. That would make me happy. And the unhappiness about that would be, it's like I'm out of my comfort zone. I leave my hair alone. I'm out of my comfort zone. I may be homesick. I'm not a traveler. I've always been one who just like wants to stay home because that's the safest. safe. Being at home is my security blanket. Social changes, losing friends over small things, big things, something you did, something you may not have done, happens a lot in school, happens a lot in college, may happen depending on how much drama circulates in your workplace, and even family, like losing family, having to drop family members because of drama or events. I won't get into that one. That one I can actually, I know all too well. Yeah. Personal life event. Oh, I put same as above. Yeah, the same as above. Medical, anything health related, like health scares, expecting or loss. So, I'll be honest, there's a couple pregnancies where I was indifferent about it because I was scared. To be completely honest, I was scared. Like I was thinking about the financial, and then again, this is all on me. I allowed it to happen because I'm the one who has the equipment to make a woman pregnant. There are also tools and accessories for the equipment I did not use because I'm not an avid user of said accessories. Like it. Got me in trouble a lot. So, but yeah, like I allowed that to happen. And so, not thinking with this head in the moment, after it all, that post nut clarity, it's like, oh, and I did that. Got all these bills. I ain't got stuff of my own. How am I going to take, like you just start thinking of stuff. You just get scared for a moment, but then you realize if you had a good support system like me, you're like, oh, we got it. I am one who doesn't like to rely on my support system. It's a last resort kind of thing for me. So I was like, but yeah, in all honesty, there was some scares. Health, I've had health scares. I have been there have been so many health scares in my family. I'm just like, what now? Like genuinely, I'm like, what now? Like, what if I'm getting a call that I'm not expecting? I'm just looking at it like, what's the news today? And I say it because I hate it. Like, I'm at an age now where it's gonna be happening left and right, and I got to be like, who is it this time? What is it this time? Is there a time frame? How do I feel about this? Chapstick's not working because it's just doing this. I hate it. Okay. Personality. Temporary, as I stated earlier, becoming or acting a certain way that isn't your normal behavior. Long term is making it your permanent choice to behave a certain way to the point that you make yourself and others believe this has always been who you are. In a positive light, maturing from toxic behavior or doing actions that have faltered your image or relationships. I've worked at bar, restaurants, fast food, been to school, high school, middle school, and you always get those people or one person who wants to change and start acting like someone that they're not. And when I say someone that they're not, you understand what I'm saying, right? They are someone that they're not. And you look at them like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what is this persona that you're putting on? Because it's not who you were yesterday. What are you doing? What are you talking about? This is who I am. This is me. That kind of scenario. Yeah. Ooh, I hate to be in that position because I want to be the petty one and just be like, yo. But I just, like, okay. You say so. I mean, I know you. This is not who I know and knew. But I like the positive ones. A lot of us have done this. If not, you should do this at least once in your life. Your personality changes for the better. So, like, let's say, for instance, you're someone who's been in a not so fiscal environment, well kept, and you grew up to your influences and realize that there's a different, I'll say different world out there, and you change so you can, what's the word? It's not, oh, I don't know why I'm thinking migrate. Not it. Chameleon is what I'm gonna say. Yeah, well, you chameleon into life, and so you allow yourself to change and be different, so you can mold with society better. And maybe, there was a previous version of you that was toxic, unhealthy, and you wanted to change for the better. So you find an influence that allows you to understand that you're comfortable with being of that influence. And it makes for a better you. I can get behind that. Yeah, I got 30 minutes. I'm doing all right on time. Oh yeah, I'm good. Okay. So here's one thing I really wanted to talk about. When this came to me, I was like, ooh, that's a good one. Categorize your presence. This is where you really start to establish a boundary for your happiness. Like really knowing that you can establish how to be happy for yourself to bestow onto others. Categorizing your presence. Start with responsibility, priority, and investment. Responsibility being what you've attained or created, you must provide attention to first, whether it be family, work, bills, anything that requires continual attention and care. We all know what's responsibility, right? I'm gonna go into detail on that. Okay. Priority. You may be thinking to yourself, isn't that the same thing? I wouldn't have separated if it was. Priority. Up and coming changes or opportunities. So you got your responsibilities that need continual attention. You got to be on it all the time. Slipping up can make a mess. Priority is things that you're working on or can work on that will be to a benefit for you in the future for yourself. So let's say you've got work and bills, you got family, you got kids, you got pets. What would be a priority outside of that? Any projects that you've got going on that you want to accomplish? Any personal goals or personal options or things that require your attention, making appointments, or anything that needs to be done by you that can be scheduled or prioritized, listed. You'll want to set the tone and boundary for those next. Lastly, investments. Now that could be investment in financially into things, or that could be investing your time and energy into people. Now this would be outside responsibility because you don't invest in your kids, you don't invest in your pets, you don't invest in your family that you've created. You know, you can invest in family outside of you because, you know, investment would be what you're putting into others to make sure that, you know, you keep a tight circle, you show face, you do what you gotta do to like separate from the world and work. You just kind of, you know, keeping things going. Yeah, of course, with investment, it's also what you put in to help others. Um, this is where you really want to establish a boundary because if you're anything like me, I didn't have one. I was doing what I could and what I needed to until the mission was completed, or I felt like I didn't help enough. That wasn't my responsibility because if I'm helping, I can only do so much. Otherwise, you know, I can only do so much. And you got to be able to be you got to be okay with that. You got to know that you have to be okay with being able to say that I can only do so much. Now, if someone who needs help is giving you pushback or giving you any reason to feel less because you can't give enough, don't help that person. Or if you want to help that person, just let them know like, hey, I'm willing to help, but you're kind of acting like, you know, like this is help. I can only do so much. Like, figure out what you need to do for the rest of what you need, but like this is kind of shouldn't be acting like this. Some people get, some people won't. They'll make you feel like the a-hole. F them, rid them, find somebody else to help. Don't even waste your time and energy explaining yourself or trying to pick a battle or fight. Person doesn't deserve you. That situation doesn't deserve you. You just find yourself roped in it, doing it just because you know the person made you feel bad. Don't let that person make you feel bad. If someone has enough audacity to make you feel bad because you can't help as much as they want you to help, let them figure it out. Tough love, baby. Tough love. If you're watching, you probably realize that I'm very self-conscious by my lips on camera. And my hair. But yeah, no, this was like a really big one for me because I had to do this. I had to figure out how to do that. Friends and family. I had to put my family in the investment category because being big brother most of their life, I would make sure they were good first before me and anything else. Not blaming, not, you know, making out be victim or anything. That's just what I would do. I didn't have a whole lot going on, so I was just like, whatever, you know. But now that I'm my own person and I like my own time and space, I do put them in the investment category because now I do have the ability and the uh strength to say no at times or to be like, yeah, no, I gotta do this first. Oh, okay, no, take your time. You know, I like being able to have that respect, that understanding of like I come first now. And it's not like I never really had it. Is I like knowing that for myself, I can be that way. And I hope that goes the same for you. Again, takes practice because you're not used to it. You may feel uncomfortable. You may feel like you're upsetting people. You may feel like you're letting someone down. Work your way through not feeling those emotions because they're not real. There's safety measures for you to stay in the comfort zone that you're in. You can be comfortable with being letting people know you're not able to provide to them in that way at that time. Because if you're able to, you can still say no. You'll hit a point where you just don't want to do it. Say that. Leave it at that. There may be a point where you can't do it. Honestly, I really can't do this right now. I wish I could, but I can't. But at that. I was a big I was one of those people who just like felt so bad when I couldn't help or when I couldn't do certain things. And I just, I would seek being able to try to do that for someone. And I just realized, like, if I can't help, I mean, if I could guide you in the right direction, that's my help. But if I literally can't do anything, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. You got to find somebody else to do it. I've had some pushback. I'm just like, yo, I don't know what to tell you. And why are you in this situation anyway? That used to. There would be moments where I kind of get petty about it. Mad at me for, but this is your situation. But yeah, responsibility, priority, investment. Understand friends and family are an investment. You got to be able also to, take time for yourself. I feel like it's a responsibility to take time for yourself, because if you don't have that time to really understand what's on your plate and if you can handle it or not. Some of us actually operate on autopilot, and we're just kind of doing things until things kind of get too much and we're like, oh, hey, I don't remember adding all this all at the same time. You just got to take a step back and go, okay, this is like, wait, just really weigh everything out that you've got going on, right? I feel like it's a responsibility to take care of yourself. Then it's a priority to do the things you want that need to be done. And then, investment is just doing for others. Now, with that being said, there are ways to establish your happiness with all this in mind. Again, set boundaries. Stay focused. You have to do for you first in order to do for others. Filling from an empty cup, I think, is the analogy. Pouring from an empty cup is the analogy. That's what it is. Which is one that I had to really, it hit me. I had to really, like, yeah. I had to really, like, yeah. This one took some time, took some practice, but I got to that point. Next would be time management. Find healthy ways to be able to live a good life and being able to take care of everything on your plate. This one was also a big one for me. Also a big one for a lot of people, being able to manage your time, like knowing if you got to get up early, get up early. Don't stay up late. If I can't even sit here and say this line and not also say I'm guilty of the opposite. Like, I will stay up late. I gotta work early in the morning. I've done. Never mind. Almost snitched on myself. Just time management. Knowing when to, when to call it quits at a night or at an event, being at a friend's house, being at family's, hanging out with a special someone, knowing when it's calling it quits. Like the most adult, mature thing is being able to be like, all right, guys, I've had my fun, but I got to go. Best thing. Best thing. Let's see. Don't overload yourself. Set realistic goals and understand that you can accomplish all things so long as you assume discipline and proper planning. Pretty self-explanatory on this one. I think I've done this a couple times, but I've seen more people do it than I've done it myself. You want so much at such an early time in your life. Like, do you realize how early 20 and 30s are? Like, we can sit here and joke around about how old 40 and 50 is, but you understand how young 20 and 30 is. How much time that you do have left. And like you can achieve what you want. Like having everything at a young age really isn't beneficial because you understand how mentally immature you are to have success, money, and a good job. Like there's still something there that you'll end up making mistakes. And when it comes to being older, where you can enjoy the finances, enjoy the little bit of the little bit of success as far as money goes, enjoying the success as an adult. Like there's so much to do and experience as a 40-50-year-old, and you still have 20 years until you're 70. That's 20 years. That's that's 20 years before your body really starts to like breaking down. You know how much money is in 20 years that you could make a month? Especially with technology now, like there's so much to achieve at any age above 18. Well, even younger people are doing, Yeah. Oh yeah, next one would be take care of yourself. Where'd it go? Oh, okay. Whew. We are all in some way having to deal with health related issues. Understanding your health, the limits, and knowing your body are what you're truly capable of. I don't know how I typed that sentence out. It's not a sign of weakness to have limitations. The issue with self-limitations is that you've lost the ability to trust in yourself to accomplish what you started. So, when it comes to that, that's kind of like a twofer. One, take care of yourself at all times. Don't let work or a career making you do too many things where you're hindering your health, where you're forgetting about your health. You gotta maintain it. You have to. Like I remember I burnt myself out for jobs, and you will only get so much in return unless it's your actual like company, your job, it's your thing. Being an employee to somebody, for most jobs, most companies, you'll only get so much in return by being the superstar, by doing the above and beyond. I've done it for just about every job that I've worked in. Oddly enough, same thing. Yes, it's your job to do things. You will get paid for your job, but when you're doing the above and beyond because it needs to be done, you're that type of person who just wants to make sure everything's completed because you take your job seriously. that, and then not even given the opportunity to move up, like promote. You start to, I don't know, there's something about them little thank yous that just really start to hit you. Oh, thanks a lot. Really appreciate you. The fifth time I've been doing this week. Like, and we figure something out. I'm doing everyone else's job. I need people to do their job. I need y'all to do your job and fill in these holes with employment. Now, luckily I work in a job that doesn't really require above and beyond as far as consistency and resolve. So above and beyond, there's no real call to it. Like, you can do it, but I know what it looks like, and I won't. I've spent too much of my life doing the above and beyond. Mind you, I'm not saying that I would never do it again, but as far as seeking it out, no. And I'm much happier not doing it. Because if I know I can rely on people or a team to get everything done, I'm relying on y'all. If there's a point where everyone's relying on me, you guys are relying on me way too much, I'm not getting that pay or that acknowledgement of the doing too much, unhappy. I don't want it. And then also like mentally, it would really like burn me out. It would stress me out, and then I would make dumb decisions because I was upset and pissed off. And then of course, if you're pushing yourself for work, you're losing sleep, you're doing things you probably shouldn't be doing, that can affect your health and pushing your limitations that could really propel any health related issues that you have. Don't want that. Because trust me, being good at your job and then dying on the job, you will definitely see the difference with a lot of companies. If you don't move, Small Kodak is following. Well, thank you, Small Kodak, for following. I really enjoyed the little watch. It was cool. Honestly, you are good, and I really like what you're doing. Super cool, and I'd love to have a great conversation with you. If you're cool with that, feel free to add me on Discord, Mike053. Thank you. I appreciate that. I will look forward to seeing you on Discord. Like that. But yeah, don't push yourself. I've been the person to push yourself, and if you feel it's right, okay, don't do it too much. Because when a company starts to expect things of you and they're not acknowledging you for that better expectation, don't do it. And then the weakness part, that's where the twofer comes in. So I had mentioned it's not a sign of weakness having limitations. The issue with self-limitations is that you've lost the ability to trust in yourself to accomplish what you started. So there are times in your life where you may hear people pretty much putting down the idea of having limits within yourself. There's good and bad with being able to push yourself for personal growth, not just like thinking in a business mindset. If you have limitations that you're aware of and you know that you can grow from them, you can push yourself a little harder to be a better person heighten those limitations. Go for it. Those little challenges for yourself, I do them all the time. I push myself with the smallest things and some of the biggest things. If I know I can push myself, I will. If I know I'm accomplishing something with pushing myself, I'm gonna do it. Because those little challenges get me through the day, the week, the month, knowing that growth is attainable. I'm gonna do it. It's just something in me. You may not be someone who wants to achieve growth in that manner, and that's okay. That's all right. When I mention self-limitations being a weakness, is that if you see that there is a limit and you just apply it because you don't see yourself being better. It's just you have to be able to trust and believe in yourself that you can accomplish what you want to. So whenever you limit yourself to not see that success through, you're limiting yourself in the wrong way. Knowing your limit is being able to know that, like, oh, I can't lift it because of I don't have the strength, or I have health related issues that would go against me lifting this box. Don't lift the box. But if you are someone who's capable of lifting the box and you don't do it, you're just like, I'm not in the mood to lift that box. It's your job to lift the box. Lift the box. Because not only are you hindering success for yourself, you're hindering success for if you're working with a team, your peers, and just getting the job done. Especially if that box is a box of an obstacle and you're the one to move it. That would be the weakness of limitations. Is that you're hindering yourself from success. Long-winded, I know. I was really trying to lose. Oh, I was trying not to lose track of where I was going with that, but found it, got it, secured it. If you find yourself getting upset, angry, irritated easily, guilty. Be open-minded to seeing things differently. Change your outlook in people or situations. Put yourself in their shoes, or remember you've made similar mistakes. Or just realize we're all human and no mistake is above or under the next one. This one is one I'm working with. I've revisited how to do this appropriately. Like I said earlier, I'm one person who gets irritated or angry pretty easy. I'm complex in simplicity. And so I've been able to kind of like really pull myself out of what's got me stressed, what's got me upset. And I'm like, this doesn't have to upset me the way it does. And I allowed myself to see things differently. I've painted a different picture with the canvas that I've been provided. And it come down to control. I don't have the control to allow this to keep me angry, to sway my emotions. So my change is to not let it happen, or work on not letting it happen. Because, again, I'm human, we're human, we will make the same mistake until we finally get it right. And I know with it being my emotion, there is potential that it'll happen again. And in the moment, I'm going to try to catch it and tell myself, hey, this is what we're working on. Let's fix it. Let's work on it. Because again, as I said, when it comes to emotional battles, you don't necessarily get the training or practice. It's all real time. All real time. So this one was a big one for me because I am in the midst of working on perception with certain things in life to where it'll benefit my happiness. If there is someone or something going on that's causing me to be unhappy or think of negativity, I'm going to change my perception on it so I can be happy outside of that person, people, or situation. I don't necessarily have to fake the happiness for that person, people, or situation, but I'm pulling myself out of it to be happy for myself. So for instance, if I've heard some news about someone in my past that has benefited them, but it didn't benefit me, I don't necessarily have to be like, oh, congratulations, or happy for you. I can just simply say, good for them. No. I don't have to say good for them. I don't have to say congrats. I can just be, that's their happiness. I have my own. And I do it in a sense of not pettiness, but just knowing that I don't have to put myself in a position to fake it. Because if I don't feel it, I'm not going to fake it. But I'm also not going to be petty and think a certain way. I'm not going to be rude or angry and think a certain way. I'm just going to say, that's their happiness. This is mine. Two different wavelengths of happiness. That's it. That's this line. Gonna go ahead and kind of push through here because I see the time that I'm on. I've killed enough time. When you come across people you really bond with, establish those connections well. Respect them and cherish them. We define this as meeting good people, but in reality, it's a vibrational connection. It's a concept. You won't vibe with everyone, and that's okay. To be on the same wavelength offers potential for growth and positive interaction. Having negative sensations or interactions reminds you to always be aware and be grounded with yourself and your environment. Never be too trusting, but also not too skeptical. This one was also kind of a big one for me because, it kind of goes hand in hand with one of the reasons why I wanted to do this topic. Seeing all those posts about people wanting to cut themselves off or cut people off or make changes because of how there aren't a number of genuine people in the world. Well, there are. You're not going to meet a lot of them because you're not meant to meet a lot of genuine people, because you have to learn from the genuinity in order to be genuine yourself, and then you can be genuine for others. So there's levels to it. So when you understand that you're at a point where you're looking for people to be genuine in your life, you're understanding that you're ascending to be a better person. And not only that, for yourself, you're being a better person for a circle that you keep. So when you're finding yourself wanting to have good people around, you're ascending to be a better person, because now you're wanting to start to alleviate that toxicity out of your life. You want to stop doing the stuff that's getting you in trouble. You want to stop doing the stuff that's got you looking stupid, that's really tarnishing your image. You want to alleviate that same pattern of being without money, without food, being around the wrong crew or group of people. You want to make changes to benefit your life and make it change for the better. So it's dropping people, it's dropping senseless acts, it's just dropping patterns and behaviors. And then when you feel yourself yearning for genuine people, you're going to start being polarized towards them. And you'll start to find yourself seeing, people who can actually talk well enough for you to comprehend, and they'll make you want to change your dialect, how you speak, how you carry yourself. Just you're magnetized to the people who can really instill growth in you. You'll learn a lot, almost like getting a mentor, so to speak. When you're ready, life and destiny has its time for you. You'll understand that you really got to heed the signs in order to continue your growth and your happiness. Growth equals happiness. Happiness is growth. Happiness can be growth. I should say that. Yeah, always keep a good circle. Knowing that you can't vibe with everyone, you really gotta be okay with it, because there's gonna be some people out there. When you start to grow and you look at the behavior of others, it's not a superiority complex. It's just simply stating that you've moved on from that kind of mentality and behavior. And you may be the type of person at first you're like, yo, you're stupid, like, or you're childish. But you just gotta tell yourself, I'm a changed person. Not above what's happening. I'm just a changed person. You got to change the perception and outlook of what you're seeing, because if you try to put yourself above someone, that's going to beget negativity. That's going to beget a toxic mindset, because you're not above a person because they're in a different path of growth than you are. You just don't associate with that kind of behavior anymore. It's not above or below. Pace. Don't go too fast. Don't get too comfortable. Go at a pace that you can handle things and get things done in a reasonable manner. Pretty self-explanatory. Know how to stay within discipline, focus, and accomplishments with the big and small things. Find healthy outlets to decompress from the world. Find outlets for both yourself and your circle of trust. Your circle of trust being the people that you trust. Finding healthy outlets is key. It's definitely key. You want to find the ones that you can do alone. Like for me, I at one point was going to the movies by myself. Just being able to know how I can laugh alone, laugh out loud alone, be okay, be comfortable with like people sitting around me and I'm by myself. I'm laughing. I can even look and be like, that was funny, right? I even went to a comedy show alone and I'm laughing, just having a good time, knowing that people feel the same around me, but I don't need people's approval or conjoinment for fulfillment and happiness. I could do that on my own. If you know that you can make yourself happy alone or find happiness alone, you can provide that happiness to other people. And you also know that you're not dependent on having people around, because there's going to be points in your life where people aren't available. And instead of having that mindset of, oh, people don't want to show up for me, or I can't have someone to be there for me, it's, oh, no one's available? Well, let's see what we can find on our own. Being able to have little adventures on your own is like one of the best things. You meet people, you run into old people, you find yourself doing new things. Like, it's be a little adventure being on your own. Let's see. Next would be know when it's time to quit. This one is one of the hardest things to do for most people, but letting go of something or someone can provide a greater benefit. Guilty. It took me a long time to understand that I was unhappy in most of the situations in my life. I stuck around because, again, hope and expectation. I was hoping things were going to be better. Once I finally made the decision to leave, at first it was hard because I wanted things. I continued to want things to be better, and so a lot of times I went back, and only to find out that the toxic behavior and patterns were still present, even when someone was trying to convince me otherwise. You got to know when to go. And it's not even just about friendships and relationships. It could be about a job too. Like, you have to know when you got to quit, because also, guilty as charged, I don't know how to leave jobs either, because it's paying me, but my toxic trait is just not knowing when to leave, because it'll benefit me. I've had people tell me, like, I'm surprised you're still here. Like, dude, you need to go. Like, you're not happy. And I'd go, yeah, well, I'm getting paid, so I never gave I at one point I didn't give myself the opportunity to find a better job and get paid more. I was just stuck because I allowed myself to be stuck. I couldn't blame anybody else but me. Once I started being comfortable with making decisions on leaving situations or people, when you become comfortable with being that, it's like riveting. It just, like, you feel like a new person, and knowing where you can find those moments just before, like, like while they're happening or before they're happening, it's a new feeling. You're just like, you know what, I don't need this. I'm okay. And you get to a point where you're like, hey, you're almost at peace with it while you're doing it. Like, hey, I understand where we're at, where it's going. We can do better for ourselves and for each other. Let's just end this now, go our separate ways. Like, you find a positive way to be able to separate, and in a mutual way. Very, very mature. Very, yeah. Be okay with the pressure. There will be good and bad days. It's part of balance. There's nothing after that. So yeah, be okay with the pressure. The balance of good and bad days. You're gonna have them. Okay. I have to remind myself that too. Like, going to bed will probably restart the balance, but getting through the day, you got to know that you can pull out of a bad moment or a bad day, because they can't always be good. Because then you don't know how to be a better person if you don't know going through a bad experience, going through a bad day. You got to know how to be a better person from those bad experiences. Like, an experience, it's just like publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. No such thing as bad publicity. All publicity is good publicity. All experience is good experience, so long as you have the perception to see it that way. It's a life is a learning lesson. No matter what happens, learn from it and apply it to your everyday life moving forward, to the point to where it is a neutral standpoint. You can see the positive in it, but you don't feel the negative. You're just like, I get it, I understand it, and I will continue forward. Manage your emotions. You can't ignore what makes you feel less or other than happy. It's an uncommon practice and an unhealthy one at that. Guilty. Especially anger. I'm working on it. And as long as you can say I'm working on it and you're putting in the effort on a daily basis, make it daily. Even if it's a small effort, make it daily. But Guilty. I do let my emotions get the best of me at times. I'm not one to ignore them because I can't, but I know when people ignore their emotions or what's caused them to be emotional, and instead of dealing with it, they push it to the side, and it creates a much more toxic trait or person. You gotta learn how to be able to just sit with yourself and deal with what's causing you pain or anguish. You gotta teach yourself how to go through it. It's like teaching yourself to get up on a bike and try it again. You can't always be scared. You can't always let the one fall or the many falls keep you from learning how to ride a bike. You gotta learn how to balance and push forward. You gotta learn how to pedal and look ahead. You gotta learn how to be able to steer and find a better path. Good job. This is a good time. Final thought. It's normal to have doubt. Never give up. Never stop believing. That is the one thing I thought about that was really cool. I feel like that's the key path to happiness, though. It's just don't give up. You're not always going to be happy, but it's always attainable. So long as you understand that you can always have it, you'll get there. You know. And one thing to think about is that a lot of old people, elders, when you ask them questions about life and what they regret, and what they could have done better, you know, a lot of it is similar. And it really makes you think about what you're doing with your life at that moment. Take the time. If you have an elder, ask them, hey, what did you learn about growing up? What's one thing you would have changed? What's one thing you would have done better? What's a regret? And when you hear that answer, really understand where you're at in your life and how you could kind of correlate what you've heard. If it's positive, if it's negative, obviously you go the positive route, but negative, no, if it's positive, learn how to apply it to what you have going on. Other than that, this went a lot better than I thought it would. And I had faith in me being able to carry the conversation, but this went a lot better than I thought it did. Small Kodak, thank you for visiting and following. I really appreciate it. Everyone else, Kaden, if you're still here, it's good seeing you again. Everyone else that will be seeing this or viewing this at this time, thank you for taking the time. It's always a pleasure. It's what keeps me going. Also, being able to talk, it helps. But I hope this helps you. Again, it's helping me because I'm currently working with it, working through it. But yeah, let me know when this comes out in the comments. What's got you happy? What helped you establish your happiness, or what can you provide to people who are seeking happiness that I wasn't able to provide? I've always liked others' input. It always helps. I'm not the only one who can provide waterfalls of wisdom, you know? Share the wealth. You have it too. But yeah, no, I've been trying to keep it at a good 2 hours, so and I've also done so. Again, everyone, thank you. Be safe this weekend. Take good care of yourselves. Take good care of your people. I'm out. See ya.